I often talk about the reasons I do a podcast and why I love this medium and format so much. And I usually say things like I have to enjoy it and learn something from it. Something that can help me improve my life or the lives of others. And so far, I think we've knocked it out of the park in terms of guests. And believe me, today's guest is no exception. On this episode, I'm joined by Stephen Considine. Stephen is a founder and owner of BiPolar Bear Wear, a clothing company who combines stylish gear with some really cool, expressive and graphic artwork. They even designed the t-shirts for Pieta House's Darkness and Delight. But another layer to the company is that they do some fantastic work around the topic of mental health and mental illness awareness. Stephen shared his own story with me and the difficulties he's experienced all his life with mental health, and we spoke about so many aspects of why people are struggling, particularly nowadays, with depression, anxiety, lack of purpose, creativity, general low mood and many other aspects of life and happiness. I knew within the first 5 minutes of meeting him that this was a guy that I could learn a lot about myself from, and even though it's a 90-minute episode, I could have spent another 5 hours chatting to this guy. It was just a real pleasure. I hope you enjoy it. Welcome to the worst self-help podcast in existence. Welcome to our shared journey to try and find the answers to questions about health, wellness, performance, nutrition, life and success, and to craft the most resilient, hardy and happy humans you've ever seen. Welcome to the Prymal podcast. And we're back. Welcome, Mr. Stephen Considine, to the Prymal podcast. Thanks for being here, man. I appreciate it.
How are you, Dan?
Not too bad, not too bad. You made a long cycle out on a wet, dark evening, so I appreciate you being here.
Yeah. Cheers for having me, by the way.
No way, pleasure.
And big up Alan for sorting it out.
Absolutely, 100%. We give him Alan.
So it's massive. Just a little introduction to myself. My name is Stephen Considine and I'm from Arklow, County Wicklow. I'd call myself an artist of sorts in the sense I've been doing graffiti since I was like 17 or 18. And being from Wicklow, there was no graffiti around, so every time I came to Dublin, I was like, how did they do that? Like, do you know, and still sometimes it doesn't make sense to me. So I was fascinated with that, and then I suppose in school I was pretty bold in school, and I was also, like, from the age of 11, I'd say I was suffering with depression.
Wow.
So I was pretty loose in school. There was a lot worse, but I wasn't allowed to do art, which was a big thing for me. So I wasn't allowed to do art after first year, and then went through school and then went to study. Done all right and leaving. Went to study commerce. I was like, "What? There's something going on here." Like, I was like, I have no interest in this. I was still like, it wasn't. I had no interest in the course, but I was also suffering with depression. So you can imagine how I turned up to that class.
Not a good mix.
Never. So then I dropped out and I dropped out of commerce, and I was still spray painting walls all the time. And everyone in the class, they were like, "What is that guy at?" Wild. And I just wanted to find a way to get into art class, so I started studying applications development, which had graphic design in it, and then it lasted 2 years in that, and the same thing, still suffering with severe depression and still spray painting walls. And then I kind of dropped out, and I kind of realised that I've been using graffiti as a therapy for me, like, all this time. Like it might be just saying my name or doing a silly character, but I've always trying to not express myself so that other people can read it, but I was using just the method and the adrenaline from doing it and stuff was therapeutic for me. Then rewind and back to when I was 11, and then like all through school, I'd knock a bit of crack out of things, like, I'd be doing what lads do, playing football, fighting and kissing girls, and all that kind of jazz. But with the college thing, my depression was getting worse because I was really, really, really lost. Like, I had no purpose. Like, and that's I'll talk about purpose later again, but like without purpose, like what the fuck are you doing here?
Yeah.
And I was completely, and then as with life in general, and everyone's going to have it, you're going to get thrown a load of suffering, and I was not in any way, shape or form ready for my auntie who died. I loved her a lot. My dog, like people think, oh, that's just an animal. That was like my best friend, like, and I was robbed of quite a lot. Like everything I owned was robbed, and there was like lots of other factors. And then, me and my girlfriend broke up, like the girl that I loved, and it just all culminated into me just saying, oh well, fuck this. Like, especially just my first experience of, well, my first experience of losing someone, and then I was like, I didn't understand the point in living, so then that quickly morphed into me taking sleeping tablets all the time, so that I just, and I stick to this, that it wasn't, well, like I think anyone that's suicidal, like they want to live a happy life, but they don't want to live with the life they have.
Yeah.
So like anything, you ask any of them, say, hey, do you want a life where you're happy? They'll take it. Absolutely. It's not about being alive, it's about the situation they've been dealt. And I didn't like my situation. I just wanted to sleep all the time. And then that culminated into me taking way too many sleeping tablets. And I was lucky, I was very lucky to have my mum around, like as traumatic as that is for her, like thank fucking God. And ended up in hospital. And then into St. John of God's psychiatric wards within two or 3 days I was in there. And then I always rate myself from 0 to 10, like throughout my life and even now. 0 being suicidal, on the edge, and 10 being peak happiness. And it's kind of funny because there is no such thing as 10. 10 is something you learn. And it's in the movies and stuff, but 5 is where you want to be at. So at that time I was 0, and then went to John of God's and I was kind of 1. And I was like, okay, I'll never let myself get back down to that. I just can't. Like, I have enough tools now to not, and I know there's fallback plans. I've exhausted everything, and now I know that there are some options for me to, go through again. And I did, like I stayed at 1 for a while, and then some other bad things happened again within a year, and I was in St. Pat's psychiatric ward for about a month and a half. And that kind of was like, they've got me from 1 to 1.5 or 2, St. Pat's did. And John of God's was like crisis intervention, where St. Pat's were like, okay, now it was a little bit more rosy, where you were doing I don't know, like you're saying, you could delve a bit deeper into some of your into your childhood and stuff like that, and you could go do a bit of pottery, and you're given a bit more freedom to do what you want. Like I could go out and get a bag of chips, and it was kind of it's much more looser. And then finished college and went traveling and all that jazz, and it's been gradual from 1.5 to 2 to maybe the last 4 or 5 years. I'm at 4 or 5 constantly, even no matter what is thrown at me now. It's like I'm so resilient. It's like, and a lot has been thrown at me, actually a lot more than before. And it's just like, no, I know exactly what to do here. I've felt so many times that I feel like impervious to anything at the moment, or for the last while, last long time. And one of those things that I actually, maybe it was 3 years ago, that I realised that I had nothing to give out about, and then that was the happiness. So then when I realised that, I was like, I've nothing to give out about, man. My shoes are comfortable, like, and then I was like, fuck, man, you've reached happiness. Like,
you've reached enlightenment, yeah.
Yeah, like there's no girlfriend, there's no car, there's none of that. But for me, like I have my friends and my family, and there's nature, I have everything that I need. I have food, I have shelter, and that was kind of peak. But then BiPolar Bear came along, 2016, where I'm talking way too long now, but
that's what this is for. When you're talking, it means I don't have to be talking.
Yeah, definitely. BiPolar Bear was like graffiti is you're painting walls, and there's no red tape around graffiti. It's not in an exhibition space. It's like it's for people and it's by people. It doesn't matter who you are. Like all my graffiti writers, such a like haberdashery of people. Like, and it's put in the public space. Now some of it can be woeful, and there are rules, but I just love the idea of it's accessible. And I studied fine art in college, and you're nearly taught to alienate people with your intelligence of this abstract form. And I was like, fuck, I'm doing this for people. Like, I just want to evoke emotion. And like, I think, graffiti writers paint trains because they are moving walls, or like you should be doing trucks or whatever, because these can go from state to state. But clothes are moving walls as well, and they're also like the one part of your identity. Physical appearance, sorry, not your identity, that you have the manner to change and make people interpret you differently. And like it's usually based on class. You're wearing lower class clothes, or
like a class uniform,
yeah. Whereas with the BiPolar Bear, and I just wanted it to have. There's something like a bit of meaning behind it, that there's a bit of soul behind this. It's not just a garment, that you're trying to actually say something that I believe in these people's story, fair enough, or I'm actually open to talking about. Like me as another person, sorry, I'll be Derek. Derek's wearing his t-shirts. I want him to be saying that he's open to talking about mental health. So yeah. The clothes are also then. The other thing was that if I ever won the lotto, I was like, I have to give back to these people, because by right I shouldn't be here right now. I wouldn't be talking right now. Like, so I owe every day to these people and to my friends and family. And I've said it before, and I'll keep saying it until I die. Like, I have no reason to be here if it wasn't for these people. So like I owe them. I owe them everything. So if I won the lotto, I'd build an arts therapy ward in John of God's. I think would be St. Pat seemed to be a bit better off, but I think John of God's there. I'd like to have built a therapy centre there, but clothes is now my way of. I've raised 20 grand now for mental health services, which
wow, fair play to you.
At first I thought it was going to be like at $1 million in my 5-year plan,
Yeah.
But yeah, it is a sizable amount. But yeah, just have to. I'll know. I think I'll know when I feel it's. I don't know, adequate.
Yeah.
I just keep going at it.
Well, you've managed to condense a huge portion of your life into a few minutes there, which is unbelievable. And just to put a bit of shape on this, I started this podcast to talk to people that I could learn from, and someone like you has been through, like I talk to all sorts of people on this podcast, and you could have doctors, and you could have strength and conditioning coaches, and you could have people who have stories, and you have people who run clothing brands like yourself. And that the whole goal for me was to create a resource for me and anybody who wanted to listen to try and understand. The point is to be happy. I think when we boil it all down, it's to try and understand how to be happy, because me, like everybody else, on a different scale to everybody else, have days or even times during the same day where I'm just not happy, or I could be miserable, I could be in a dark place, I could be happy. And what I've learned over the last few years is you have to have practices every day, or things that you do or put in place to help you get there, because it's not going to happen by itself. And by speaking to someone like you, like we spoke for an hour before we turned the mics on here, and it was the first time we'd ever spoken, and speaking to someone like you who has a message, and I know we're going to get into all the different parts of what you spoke about there in a minute, but your message, when you have stories like yours on radio or TV or in a newspaper or magazine, it gets lost, and it's cliched, and it's usually put there with good intention, because mental health and finding yourself and happiness and all that is massively important. It's the most important thing, but I think it's lost in the noise, because people see this stuff coming and they roll their eyes and they go, another story about this or another story about that. So that's why I wanted to do this, and to hear you explain that so well. And as I said, it's a huge part of your life, and you've managed to condense it into 10 minutes there, or 5 minutes even. But to hear you explain that so well from start to finish, depression at a young age, anxiety, you mentioned suicide in there, you had hard times. It's a version of what a lot of people go through on many different levels. So some people experience it much worse than others, but I think it's a sliding scale, if that's fair to say. And you've managed to get yourself to a point, and I mean, I can say people who don't know you, I've met you, and I can tell you this is true. You've managed to get yourself to a point where, and I don't use the word, I'm not going to use the word enlightened, but you have a very, very good outlook and perspective on things. You said 5, I love that, because 10 for me would be you're manic with happiness and it's hiding something, and then 0 would be obviously the depths of darkness. So 5 is that balance you want to find somewhere in the middle. And you've said so many things. I told you earlier, when I was looking through, when I was reading up before you came on the show, I was looking through the last 4 or 5 years of BiPolar Wear and reading a few bits and pieces I could find about you. It was peppered with things that just slapped me in the face, because I immediately was like, that was me. And this all sounds very cliche, but people will know as we speak throughout this podcast, people will understand what I'm saying here. There were things that you had in there that were part of yourself, or part of your journey that you learned, that I could look at and say, geez, I'm struggling with that every day. And what you've done with BiPolar Bear Wear is you've created this outlet for yourself. And we talked about art therapy as well. You've created something that you can pour your energy into. You said you weren't allowed to do art in school. Obviously, this is a great kind of way for you to be able to express and get it out there. Graffiti was in your life as well. I think a lot of people are really struggling nowadays because they don't even know where to start looking for something like that. They don't know what it looks like. How do you find something that you can pour your heart into, or is it even worth it, or why should I bother getting out of bed in the morning? A million and one different reasons. And I talk to people all the time about the stuff you can do to help mental health, like gut health and sleep and all that kind of stuff. But it's very rare you talk to somebody about the other side of this. And you mentioned going through formal psychiatric care, which gets a massively bad rap, specifically in this country, because people think it's just that you go in there and they give you tablets and that's it. But that wasn't your experience either. So that's another misnomer as well about that. So there was so much. I'm rambling here now. There was so much in reading about you and then meeting you that said to me, God, this guy, not that you have it all figured out, but that you've come through a journey in a really short period of time. Like, what age are you now?
31. Fuck.
You're 30. You forgot there, yeah.
Yeah, I'm 31.
You're 31, and like that's a huge amount to go through. And you said you were suffering when you were 10 or 11, and that's a very, very young age. And there's loads of people out there I know who are in a similar position, but it's a very young age to have to be dealing with that kind of stuff, and then to go through everything that life throws at everybody in some form or other. On top of all that, and to have gotten to a place where you can do something like BiPolar Wear and BiPolar Bear Wear, and I know you were involved in designing for Pieta House, and you've raised €20,000, and like that's absolutely fantastic. But the most amazing thing for me is your outlook. I can tell by talking to you, you genuinely find pleasure in the things that you find pleasure in, and it's not you just do them because you enjoy the process, not to try and actually get anything out of them. And thankfully, it's culminated for you in a great brand and a great business and great clothing. Did you know when you started the company where you were going with it, or was it just a passion project? Was it just an outlet, or did you know that this was specifically what you wanted to do? I know you said if you won the lottery you give money back, but did you know you wanted to grow a brand and get involved with companies or charities that were going to help other people with mental health, or was it for you just I need to get this out for me?
The initial plan was I started with 2 mates who were kind of we were all suffering with the same, at different stages of our life, but they had different things going on in their lives where they only stayed around for a couple of months.
Okay.
But the initial plan for me was to, I wanted to create this therapy centre, whether it be through BPB or be through through John the Gods. I just wanted, this was my end goal.
Yeah.
And then it was started off with T-shirts, and initially, there was a rigid plan, and the more I stuck to the rigid plan, the more stressed I got. And I was like, okay, why are you doing this? Like, do you want to get to this point where you're helping loads of people? But you're not going to get there if you're destroying yourself with stress. And like, there was times you couldn't afford to sleep, which was obviously crazy detrimental. And I've just let it evolve from naturally, in the sense that there's been, like you're saying, like there's so many, there's about 10 sentences people have told me that have changed my life. And that could be a psychologist, or it could be fucking Joe on the street, you know. These 10 sentences, and one of them was like the Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule. And that I can appear lazy, but I've found my sweet spots, and I found the point. If I put 80% of my work into a few things, and I only get 20% of my results, or I put 20% of my work gets 80% of my results, and then I was like, okay, so what are the results you're looking for here? And I was like, you want to spread awareness. Like, the money is secondary. There's more that the awareness is free. So it started off as t-shirts, and then I was like, okay, blogs. You do blogs. That makes sense. Like, you should have seen the site when it first started. And then the blogs started helping loads of people, man. I was like, you got it. Like, you can go slave away on it, like trying to get a t-shirt to fit in through a letterbox, or go ask someone else to write a blog. And then it evolved into doing talks, going around doing talks and stuff. The kind of the PR side of things came, where, I was doing more news and radio interviews and stuff. And then that's massive for awareness. Like this right here. Thank you so much for having me.
No, thanks for coming on.
But if I can say, if something comes from this from one, even half a person, great. And then it evolved into going around doing talks, which is kind of, I suppose, the same. So there's those three things, and I to be honest with you, we had the 5-year business plan, and we had investors coming in and telling me how, like, just telling me not, like, oh, you shouldn't use guns and all this kind of crack. And I said, nah, man, I'm just doing this to enjoy it and to help people, and you make this into a job, or you contrive my creativity. It's kind of selfish in that sense. I say, like, if you put the red tape around this, I'm not doing it. Like, so that's like, I could, like, if taking on the right opportunities, like, we were on ASOS, and that wasn't working out because it's causing me stress. But, like, if someone else was handling it, this could be fucking gigantic. There was Young Entrepreneur Awards and all these kind of things.
But isn't that the point, really? If another great point, if you spend all your time trying to please other people, you're probably going to be miserable. And that can be in a work capacity, if you're not doing what you enjoy, but you're doing it because you're pleasing other people, be it the boss, or in a personal capacity, if you're pretending to be something that you're not because you're pleasing other people. The Instagram thing, I mean, we spoke about that before as well. If you're putting up something that's not necessarily true to you to please other people, you're eventually going to be miserable. And even though, like you said, even if you're not making millions, but you're happy, it's one of the oldest cliches out there, but it's still ignored consistently. Like, I'm sitting here, and I'm very aware, I'm very privileged to be sitting here having conversations with people like you in a studio like this, but I do it because I love it, not because it's making me any money or anything like that. I'm doing it because I love doing it, and I genuinely, since I've started doing it, it's put a piece of the puzzle back in for me, and there's loads more pieces, I'm sure, but like that's so true what you're saying there. If you've managed to break out of that to a certain degree because you didn't work with the ASOS as much longer, and you told me as well, working with other people in the marketing or design world is often quite hard because they're driven by corporate or economic factors. They're trying to make money out of this as opposed to doing it because they love it and doing it. And that can come across cliched, and I'm not saying everyone should just do what they love all the time, because there's practical sides to it. We have to pay our bills and we have to live, but I think we're so far away as people nowadays from that balance that's why a lot of people are suffering and why they're not happy.
Like, there was a few things, like, I think it would reflect, like, I think you can tell someone being true to themselves straight up. I think it's very hard to hide, the fake authenticity. So if I was doing it, like, you can see, like, people have told me not to curse on my Instagram or whatever. I'm like, I'll be me, like, don't filter me. Don't fuck. But then there's a nice quote. Picasso said the meaning of life is to find your gift, and then the purpose of life is to give it away. That's cool. That's pretty much I'd forgotten that until you started talking. I said, I haven't thought about that in years, but that was...
I'm very inspirational.
Yeah, he's divine, but that's kind of, that's where it is for, like, we're thinking of Zimbabwe and Ghana, and these are some of the happiest countries on the planet, like, and their whole ethos is, it's kind of like they are so communal, like everything's, you'd find it, like, I was in Borneo last year, and I go up to the shop, Westerner, with quite a lot of money, relatively speaking, and they wouldn't charge me for a bottle of water. I'm like,
Yeah.
but they take the money, like, it doesn't matter. Like, what, like, and they're so happy. So they've that it is so cliche, but they've got their values, and then they've got they've got their purpose as well. So let's bring it back to the purpose thing, and like that. This was a National Geographic study on happiness. Now there's other happiness studies out there, but they actually just went and done a lot of survey.
I think it's the Blue Zones. Is a blue? I can't remember the exact name. I think it's Blue Zones they call them, but they do a lot of research on. They're doing longevity studies essentially, and they're trying to relate this to the food that we eat. Now I'm a big believer in the food that we eat, so I'm not saying that's not important, but there's an element that a lot of these studies they came back and said, okay, well, this area in the world, this region's eating this kind of food, and this region's eating but it doesn't contribute fully to the health. I was like, what the hell's going on here? And then they started to look at things like purpose and happiness and community and family and all that kind of stuff, contentment. And they found that the areas who they were living longer, and despite the fact these guys, like, you often hear that the 121-year-old Japanese guy, like, he's smoked 50 fags a day and he's lived to 121. So there's other factors that play there. Now there's some weird genetic anomalies, I know, but most of these zones where people tend to live longer or live better or don't suffer from the same type of, call them stress-related diseases that we would, they're happier, and they're happier with less. They're not as commercialised or industrialised as other countries. They have really tight-knit family community groups. They're living like we did 200-300 years ago, but they don't show the signs. And when you go meet these people, I mean, you've travelled, I've travelled, most people have been outside of Ireland, and you see in certain places where you'd imagine that they're not as happy because they don't have a BMW or a nice gaff.
It's funny.
It's mad, but they're happy. And I've heard so many stories. I've never been to Borneo or anywhere like that, but I've had friends, Vietnam, loads of places like that, where they're saying similar things. They'll rock up and they'll try and pay for things, and you'd imagine because you're the Westerner with loads of money, they're going to be triple charging you because here's the tourist, like, and it's the opposite. Now if you go to the big cities, that does happen, but the old woman in the house on the side of the hill, she's just happy to have you there, and she wants to give you, and she might be giving you the last thing that she has, but she wants to give.
Yeah, it's so beautiful.
It's like it is, and it's a thing that like there's loads of. I watched The Long Way Around, The Long Way Down to motor. But you ever see that Ewan McGregor and Charlie Bourne when they travel around the world on motorbikes?
Oh no, didn't they?
Yeah, it's brilliant. You should watch it. Yeah, it's great. But when they get to places like this, I think it was Mongolia. They got to Mongolia. Now, some of the poorest people in the world with nothing live in yurts and tents out in the steppes of Mongolia. There's nothing out there. They have nothing. And they were the most welcoming people. They brought the guys in, gave them everything they had, all the food, and it was really beautiful to see. So we have access to this type of media and we can see this stuff, but it doesn't hit home. It doesn't hit home with people that live here, I don't think, unless you're looking for that. Most people that glances off this, whatever we've built, this armour or whatever that we've built, and it's like, yeah, that's fine, yeah, but sure, look, I don't live in Mongolia or Borneo, so it's nothing to do with me. Like, right, need to get the promotion, need to get the whatever's next, and you lose out on that. But I saw this in South Africa as well. Now, South Africa is a controversial enough country, but there was places I went in South Africa where people had nothing, and they were the nicest, most generous people, and they were so happy, and they were just happy to get up in the morning and go milk the cows and come home in the evening and dance together, and they were genuinely happy, happy people. And like when you go to these places and see these things, it's such a wake up call. It's a real. If you take the time to think about it, you kind of go, Jesus, I mean, that does exist. Yeah. Like you could do that. Like I'm now, any one of us sitting here now in middle class Ireland could probably go, do you know what? a few sacrifices, and I could probably live like that.
It's funny that we're trying to look at I was in Mumbai with a couple of Westerners, the goddamn Westerners.
Goddamn Westerners.
But they were all like, "Oh my God, look at the poverty," and how they're like distraught, and they'll talk to other people that go to India, and they're like, "Oh, it's so eye opening." But if you look at just look at the people, and they've got their tier system where there's like 17 or 21 tiers, and the people, if you're in the second tier, you look down. It's just, but the people on the bottom, first, we're trained to look at them as if they've got nothing and they actually have it all.
Yeah.
We just seen a lad playing with a stick, and he broken off a stick and he just kept banging it, and the stick kept popping up, and he was happy out. It was man, and then the other thing was the helping. So I just found it funny that the other people saw this as they have nothing, and then but then the other way that they get their satisfaction is by seeing other people get satisfaction. It's just such a, if you're an isolated human being, you can't get that, and it's like, and I do it, sometimes I'm feeling getting a bit low, and then I was like, just do something nice for someone you love, and you get the enjoyment out of seeing them. You get the enjoyment out of seeing them happy, and that is everyone loves somebody, or even if you don't, you can do it with homeless people or whatever. We're trained, we're social beings, and you're kind of taught to be narcissists now more so than ever, and it's kind of like a paradox, because are you doing it to make the other person happy? Yeah, but it's also making you happy. But there's no losers there. But it kind of is selfish, but it's not. So I still don't know the answer to that one.
Have you ever heard Sebastian Junger speak?
Junger?
Yeah.
No.
He wrote a book called Tribe. You never read the book now?
Tribe?
Yeah.
No, but what's it?
Probably sounds familiar, yeah. I think I spoke about this before. Sebastian Junger was a war journalist, and he wrote a book called Tribe, and I heard about this guy. I think I heard it on the Joe Rogan podcast or something. And he basically had spent a lot of time. He was involved in the filming of a documentary called Restrepo, and he spent a lot of time with American soldiers abroad on tour in places like Afghanistan and Iraq, right? So he'd rock up with a unit and spend a month or two with the unit. Now I'm butchering the details here, but he'd spend a lot of time with these guys out in the field, and he noticed that when they were out there, the feeling that they had of brotherhood, and because when you're out there, and I watched Restrepo, when you're out there, particularly in places like Afghanistan, and you're in a camp in the mountains, isolated from the rest of the army, and you have 8 guys or 14 guys, whatever it is out there, you have to look out for each other, and you have a purpose. This is your job, to keep your brothers alive and to secure the missions. You have a purpose, so there's no waking up in the morning saying, what will I do today? You have a job, you have a purpose, right? So he noticed when these guys came home from war that they were miserable, and there's a huge community of veterans of war with PTSD and stuff like that. Well, now I'm gonna air quotes if you're watching this, PTSD, that they can't reintegrate into society. They can't find a purpose. They can't go and do a normal job, because the jobs that we have nowadays, for the most part, unless you're working in something like the fire brigade or in medicine where you're genuine, your job is helping people, your job is kind of meaningless to you except that it pays your bills. So if you're working in an office, no disrespect to anybody, but it's you don't have the same sense of purpose, clear purpose every day. My job today is to keep my brother alive and to go and secure the mission, whatever it is. So he started then to travel around, and he noticed this in a few other instances. I think it was after, what was the hurricane in New Orleans? Was it
Katrina?
Was it Katrina? That people, hundreds and thousands of people who had lost their homes and lost everything, all their possessions, and were living in camps in basketball stadiums and stuff like that, were the happiest they'd been in years, because they were serving these people. These people were saying, I'm happier than I've ever been in years, because they had a purpose. Their purpose was help my neighbour, help my kids, survive. Maslow's hierarchy, we were talking about that. Survive. Basic survival instincts kicked in, and they were happy. And he started to gather data from all these different disasters and war times and stuff, and the people were happier than they'd ever been. And they started to say strange things when they were asked, would you like to go through another insert disaster here, hurricane or war, whatever? People were saying yeah. And he's like, why? And it's like, because I felt needed.
Yeah.
I was needed. And if you go back to how we used to live, now this is always a dodgy one because people are like, well, we can't go back to the caveman years. But imagine going back to when we lived as tribes. That's what the name of the book is, Tribe. And I think he studied some of the Indian tribes that still exist in the States.
Oh, yeah.
You're in a unit of up to maybe 200 people. What's that Dunbar's number? 200 people. And any bigger than 200 people, a group starts to splinter off then because it becomes too big. The community becomes too big. So they splinter off and form another community, which is how we used to live. So you've got about 200 people there and everyone has their place. You're the hunter or the gatherer, or you're the builder or the farmer or the nurse or the doctor, and you have a very clearly defined place in that tribe. But as we've grown this global tribe, and this is his message, not mine, we're getting we're a tribe of 6-7 billion people now because we're all interconnected by the internet and travel. The world is a tiny place now. We live in massive cities with millions and millions of people. Your place in the tribe is no longer defined. You don't know what your place is. You get up in the morning, you go to work, you do your job, and you come home and you're like, even if that's a subconscious thought, it's what's my tribe? What's my job here? Yeah. And the bigger your his thing is, the bigger your garden gets and the higher the fence around your house gets, the worse this feeling gets because you're isolating yourself from that community and from your tribe. You don't know what your purpose is. And purpose is, I'm big on purpose. It's a huge, huge thing. So when you go to places like we're talking about here, like Mumbai and Borneo and South Africa and Vietnam and places like that, and you see people who are still living like that because they don't have the resources to build big brick walls between their houses and to build massive super cities and to live in millions and millions of people. They're still living in tribes and they still have purpose and they're still grateful for everything they have and they're still very aware of the good feeling that they get when they help someone else out. Yeah. So that book, it's a tiny, if you ever get a chance to read it, it's a tiny book. Yeah, I don't know, it's maybe less than 100 pages.
I'll say.
You probably get an audiobook, listen to it in an hour. Like, it is, I was listening to it going, this is brilliant. Or even listen to the episode that Sebastian Junger does with Joe Rogan. Because he talks about the book in the podcast. Just brilliant. But it explained to me, now, I don't think everybody's miserable, but I think everybody nowadays is a lot less happy than we used to be, and everybody lacks a lot of purpose compared to hundreds of years ago nowadays because of the way we live now. So it's not that I'm saying everyone's miserable all the time. Just people are happy. People are happy in general, but there's a significant, I'm feeling, lack of purpose with people waking up in the morning, I hate my job, I hate my life, that kind of thing. And I think that, not that it starts depression or anxiety or anything like that, but I think it's a major contributing factor to people not feeling good about themselves.
Absolutely, yeah. There's a funny, just on the, I don't know if that book goes into it, but I was looking up, I don't know, I was just thinking about it one day, looking up the suicide rates during the World Wars.
Oh, yeah.
Did he say anything about that?
I think he might have, yeah. I think I know he mentioned London and the World War and the bombings in London, I think, but I can't remember the exact details.
Absolutely, like, you want to look at it. It was research on something else, so I don't know the exact reason behind it, but in my head, I know I came up with my own, like, you know, but it plummets. It absolutely plummets.
Really, yeah.
Yeah. Now, like, there could be some external factors, but did I tweet it or something? I just asked people, I said, why do you think this is? And they're like, everyone had their place in the tribe and everyone had purpose. And like, so when you say, like I'm always thinking like, things are so fucking rosy now, like, you know, for 90% of the population, that the kind of, you know, we need something negative to be working towards, firstly, but we need the war kind of gives you a bit of purpose. Now, that's me assuming a lot of things from them suicide rates. It could be they're just too busy fighting.
But that is purpose if you're too busy doing something else.
And it could be something. And then, but then the tribalism thing, and like see it now, and it's so weird. Like religion's such a good thing for people if they have no purpose. Now it can be evil. There's like disastrous religions out there, whatever. But it is purpose for people. It's like, this is why I'm alive. And fair enough, take it. Like, if you've got nothing else, take that. But then you can see this, it's in everyone. Like, there's everything's becoming tribal now, but it's like you've built your walls around your garden, but you've found one on the internet. Not everyone's becoming, that's a lazy statement to make, but you can see people becoming argumentative for these things, and it's there's just like, I remember when the repeal thing was over and I was talking to a mate who was fully behind that, and I was like, what are you going to do now? And like, I have no idea.
Yeah.
You know, they were like, I have no idea what I'm going to do. They were lost when we won Like they, you know, and I was like,
100%, yeah.
I'm sure they're on. I'm pretty sure they'll be on to something else now. But it's just that feeling of being completely lost. That I've no reason to be here unless I'm behind something. And the same people would knock religion, but at the same time, and other people would be like Liverpool fans, like, you know.
That's a religion. It's a form of, now, no disrespect to anybody, but that's a form of religion.
Going to the gym and they sing these songs, you know, like in Mass you do Hallelujah, and in Liverpool do You Never Walk Alone, and in gyms they do you know, they'll have the music playing, and it's the same ritual, like it's the same but they're all knocking each other, and I'd like take whatever, just don't cause any harm to anyone else, and that's, you know, do whatever you need to do on this ground. Like, I'm really lucky that I'm so blessed that I stuck with art, like, and then I work in, like when I go to work, I'm like, I am so lucky that I'm doing something that I love. You know, I don't love every day, but I don't mind going in, and I know I'm blessed to be at that. But at the same time, if I was doing a job that I didn't like, which I've done for a long time, I still found my other thing, and that was to like the BPB is now, is to just try to help people with what I used to do was like, I'd paint things for people and not for money. That was like, there was going off Picasso's thing, it was you find your purpose and give it away.
Yeah.
And like, just you could be good at trimming hedges or something, or, you know, or it could be, you know, it could be a Liverpool thing, like, you know, just it's what you can still have that job that you don't like, but you can like knit your own jumper of meaning, like just go knit it, like, and you could be feeding the birds park life or whatever it is, but you know, don't, it's not all over. Well, just like the job is there to fund everything else. You're only in there 40 hours a week. You've got 104 other things that you could 104 hours where you can go and do something. So don't let that defeat you. There's something, and there's so many things out there. Like
100%. Yeah. There's a couple of bits that you said there. That one is the online tribe thing. Now the social media gets a bad rap, and I'm one of the guys doing the rapping as well. Social media is a dangerous thing. It's just a tool. It's like everything else. Alcohol is just a substance. Drugs are drugs. Steroids are steroids. Social media is social media. And nothing is good or evil in any of those things. They're all just tools for something. And if you run a business, social media is very helpful. Want to stay in contact with your friends, social media is very helpful. Want to kill a bit of time, social media, you can look at art on social media, whatever. But the internet, I think, and social media in particular, has given people who are, as we've just discussed, struggling to find their tribe and their purpose, it's given them what they think is, and I'm sound like I think I'm enlightened here and I found it, but I'm not at all. It's given them an opportunity to find like-minded people, but it's dangerous because there's no real context. There's no real element to that tribe they're finding online. So people are going online who are angry, sad, upset, confused, lack motivation, have no purpose, whatever, insert here, and they're finding similar people online, and they're developing these relationships which inherently are not negative or bad relationships, but it's building this anger, builds this frustration builds, and usually what happens, and you've said it there, is they form a group that has a problem with another group, and then it becomes a this is the way to do it, you're not the way, we're the way, this is the way, and it becomes about telling other people either how great you are or how bad they are, as opposed to just this is me, like, or this is finding an actual purpose. And I really struggle with it. Like, I use social media, I'm not immune to social media. I really struggle with the idea that is what's going to make me happy. And I said to you before as well, like, we're videoing this podcast now, you'll see it because Stephen's going to force me to put this up on YouTube, but I said I videoed loads of these and I don't get it perfect, and then I freak out, it's not perfect, I'm not going to put it up because A, B, C, D or whatever like that. And then I realised, like, I play a bit of music and I play it for myself, and I don't like being asked to play in front of other people. Now, my girlfriend, I tell you, I actually enjoy it once I've done it, but I don't do it for other people, I do it for me. And you were like, well, just do the video for you. And I was like, that makes sense. Social media is the opposite. You're literally doing it for other people's acceptance, because for them to let you into their tribe, you have to show certain things. If you want to be rich, you have to have a nice car and a big house. If you want to be part of this religious group, you have to show this stuff. You're literally going on the internet for other people. It's not for you. So that's where I see the dangers with this. And then you get people, and specifically young people, and this is one that really, like, I have a 2.5-year-old daughter now, and it's thinking of how to help her navigate this world that's so different than when I was.
Oh God.
Oh my God.
I don't know.
Yeah, but I think part of me is like, well, do you know what? This is a really, really good challenge for me because I'm going to have to figure it out in my head before I can help her figure it out in her head. But I see so many young people nowadays of like as young as 5, 6, 7, 8 up to like even 30, 40 is still young, who are really struggling because they've been exposed over the last 10 years all of a sudden to this madness online. And combine normal life, which is hard enough trying to find your purpose if you didn't have access to the internet, with this barrage of, well, this is how it's supposed to be. No, this is supposed to be. No, it's supposed to be this religion. It's supposed to be this color. It's supposed to be this shape. It's supposed to be this size. And it's just like, where do you even start with that kind of stuff? But when you pare that back, it's just people looking to belong. Like, it's just people looking for a tribe.
It's like having schizophrenia. Like, you know, you've got all these, you scroll and you've got all these different voices saying different things. And then like most of them are negative, which is a weird thing. And then you've got all these audio and visual like distractions as well. It's like you're literally just putting yourself through, like, not as bad as schizophrenia because I don't know what it's like to have schizophrenia, but from what I've heard, it's just like you got all these people yapping, and I just find it like if you like this is another thing. It was just a little like it's just another little perspective that if you are content, you don't need to impose your ideologies on anyone. So anytime I see someone doing that, like, no matter how right they are, in my opinion, if you feel the need to tell other people what to do, you are so insecure. Like that, it's an insecurity thing. There's no, like, it might be the right thing, but if you need to feel the need to tell people they're doing wrong, you know, it's not your...
It's a big red flag.
It's not your choice. And then you can see that, and then you train yourself in recognizing a narcissist, which is very easy on Instagram. And then you kind of, you don't, not laugh, but you kind of just take a bit of reassurance and comfort in saying, okay, they're missing a lot in their life. There's a lot not going on in their life that they're forced to do this. And you kind of sympathize or empathize as much as you can with some of these people, and then you can kind of, you don't get taken aback by. I say, okay, I can't use an example, like, but yeah, you kind of just become at peace with understanding. And this is like, there's a lot of like there's a lot I've had to do in my lifetime, a lot of work on understanding arseholes as well. There's no other way. Like there's, you can get all your clinical diagnosis you want, but you're a fucking arsehole. You know, oh, you had a rough time as a kid, and that's why this person acts that way. It was like, yeah, we kind of, like, we all did, but like there's all these different traits of. So Anna Freud was Sigmund Freud's daughter.
Okay.
This is like, I think this is the best bit of information you can learn for your whole life about dealing with people and dealing with yourself. And we have so it was like we all display different traits of ego. So, you know, traditionally I thought the ego was someone coming into the room giving a rah-rah, like
chest out,
all braggadocio. And it turns out that we all have different forms of ego, and you can spot them online and you can spot them in conversations. And like some of them are you know, you'd be aware of, like, so she have eight different forms of ego. Anyway, like projectionism is you're projecting your own insecurities onto someone else. And then you've got denial, where, you know, you're just completely in denial. But there's other ones like intellectualization, where there's something missing in your life, or you need to big yourself up so much that you have to let other people know that you're smart. Like, you can go learn these things and not say it, but I'm gonna, like, you can see it with people using words that other people can't compute, or you can see it with people, you know, have to be right about this fact, or going on to Instagram and they have to be, you know, giving up these mad long posts about how woke they are or how much they know about a certain topic, when, like, that's them trying to big up their ego. Displacement, there's fantasy ego, you know, you just completely detach yourself from the situation. And yeah, like, I found learning them helped me deal with all these different types of arseholes, different types of arseholes online. And I have traits of arsehole like a lot.
Oh, we all do, yeah.
Yeah, like, and I'm like, fuck, man, you're being that person, you know.
But the key is recognizing that, and people who know me will laugh. But I think personally, I'm getting better at that. But
never goes.
You'll always be there. Like I mean, if you're an arsehole, you're an arsehole. But if you can recognise the parts of the arsehole that affect other people and curtail that a little bit, like one thing and again, people who know me will laugh, but one thing I've gotten a bit better at is I used to argue my point a lot. And when someone didn't agree with me, I got very frustrated. And we all do, because I suppose there's a bit of human nature in that as well. But then, I can't remember exactly what changed me, but it was probably listening to people doing this kind of thing. And I was like, geez, if I go on a microphone and just start arguing with everybody and force my point out, no one's going to want to listen to this, and no one's going to want to come in. But I'll be really quick to rise when someone says something I don't agree with. Well, no. So now I've started to kind of, and I have to train myself to do it. It's just sit and listen. And then I find myself realising, you know what, actually, they were right about that, and maybe I'm glad I didn't say what I thought, because I was probably right. But if I had never done that, if I never recognised the arsehole, I probably would have just come out of the room thinking I'm right and he's wrong anyway. But then as soon as I sat down, I was like, you know what, that person was right. I learned something. That's massively empowering when you do it. But I'm still an arsehole 95% of the time, I suppose.
I'm the same, man. Like I'm here spouting off this shit. So hypocritical on anything I've ever said here. But yeah, like I was the same with. It was like a competitiveness more so. It's like, I actually know I'm wrong, but I'm not going to let this.
Not backing down. Alpha male, not backing down.
I have full fist arguments. Yeah, fights.
It's like a Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, with my mates, you know, when we were younger, and all just crazy stuff, and I still do it. Like no matter what you do,
Hello. Just a little reminder that today's guest is Stephen Considine, and we're chatting about mental health, mental illness, being happy, being sad, and everything in between. If you want to learn more about anything we cover in this episode, you can get in touch with the team at podcast@prymal.ie. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at PrymalPro, PRYMALPRO, and all the things we mentioned will be available in the show notes over at www.prymal.ie/BiPolar Bear. Well, there is no, I think you said this as well to me, I can't remember if we turned the mics on at this stage, but there's no there. There's no top of the mountain. No. You never get there. No. It's practicing stuff regularly. Yeah. That's the key. And you're never going to get to a point, well, I don't know, maybe the Dalai Lama can tell us otherwise, but you never get to the point where you have it all figured and it's like, click. Never. But every day there's things you can do that'll help you with that particular day. And all you can do, cliches, one day at a time. And if every day, one day at a time, is a pretty decent day, and some are a little bit worse and some are pretty good, that's it. There's never a point where you hit, it's not the 100 grand paycheck, it's not the big house, it's not the €1 million, it's not the whatever. It's a point where you have enough practices or enough, you've your structure built in a way that every day you have control over that arsehole. You can recognise the arsehole, you can recognise the things that make you, Owen Lacey in the podcast says, he calls them derailers. You can recognise the things that are going to set you off the wrong way. We talked about eating packs of biscuits before this,
Jesus,
drinking pints, or you can recognise the one that's one too many and stop yourself before you get there.
Not with biscuits though.
We started on biscuits. I told you, it's a work in progress. But you can recognise the things that are going to set you off, and you can also recognise the things that are good for you. And if you build practices based around that stuff, and practices, insert practice, could be a walk, could be meditation, could be anything that works for you. We'll talk about art therapy now in a sec. But you have to build those things and put them in place and recognise them. And that's the key, I think. And that's why I do this. So I talk to people like you, because even the last, talking 45 minutes here, I've learned so much again, that's some of it has reinforced what I know, some of it's new that I didn't know, but it's more stuff that I can now take and say, okay, yeah, do you remember when Stephen said that? That's something that works with me, resonates with me. Maybe I can employ that, and I'll try that, and if it works for me, that's another little 1% of my day that's going to help me manage this and spin these plates and juggle these balls. And you mentioned ego there as well, and it's a great one to look at, this ego. Because we talked, and again, I think I told this before, but things like ketamine and microdosing and mushrooms and LSD and stuff like that. This stuff is starting to come to the forefront now. I won't say mainstream, but there's more access to information on this stuff now. There's more data, there's more research. They're looking at this from a medical point of view. I specifically had experience with working with Dr. Sam with ketamine therapy for things like anxiety and depression, addiction and things like that. And I went through the treatment before myself just to see what it was like, because we were working with other clients. I wanted to know what they were going through. I wanted to understand the experience, because people were saying things like ego dissolution and I wasn't a human anymore, and it changed my perspective. And I was like, you know what, give that a whack and see what the story is. And I had no experience with anything like that before. And the words, this might make sense to you, it doesn't make sense to a lot of people who haven't tried something like this, but there are no words I can say to express the exact feelings I had or the thoughts that were going through my head. The words don't exist. It was things, thoughts, whatever. I can't put them into words. But what I can put into words, ego. I mean, I have a pretty big ego.
Yeah.
It was gone. I didn't have an ego. I wasn't me. I wasn't a person.
Yeah.
There was nothing to all the stuff I built to defend myself and to protect myself from the world and thoughts and people and all that. It was all gone. I had nothing. It was stripped away, and I wasn't anything. I wasn't even a person. I was like matter, if that makes any sense.
No.
Yeah. And then I was able, when that was gone, this is the key, when that ego, as I'm calling it ego, was gone, which the stuff that the perspective you get on things, you're looking at things in your life that you thought were problems before, and you're like, that's what's keeping me up at night. Like, that's why I'm not talking to that person. That's why I made this massive decision based on that. And you're looking at, when you're not looking at yourself because you're not a person anymore, you're going, that's outrageous. And you're thinking to yourself, like, it's another cliche. Why couldn't we just love and get on with it and be happy and share and have gratitude and all these words that people think, well, go hug a tree, Dan, like whatever. When you have an experience like that, or you've tried anything like this, I'm not saying you have to do any sort of pharmaceutical compound, meditation. You can get, some people talk about meditation to get into that state, breath work, stuff like this. But it's to get to a state where in some way you can take a step back. You can pull your head out and you're like, whoa, that's what, and like most people, and especially if you're stubborn or like hard working is great. I know loads of people who are hard working, but they're hard working in the wrong direction. And I'm one of those people as well, sometimes as well. I'll work hard, but a lot of the time my head is down. I don't even know where you're going. You're just going. And then you're like cattle. All the cows around you are going, I'm going this direction too. And you're barging cows out of the way. I'll get through that gate. And you pull back and you realise the fence they're going through was over the edge of a cliff. Like, and you were just one of the cows in I just made that metaphor up there. I think it works there, because cows were always bumping off each other. But that I had that experience, and the best thing about it was, and look, this is not an advertisement for doing drugs, the best thing about it was I was able to take some of that perspective with me, because I was conscious and I wrote some stuff down, and I was able to, not saying it changed my life, but it was able to change some perspective I had on certain things in my life. So now I'm able to every day remember that small stuff. Don't sweat the small stuff. It sounds cliched, and when you have a lot of small stuff and you're buried by it, it almost sounds, shut up, Dan, will you? Like, this stuff is taken over my head. But when you're given an opportunity, and like I said, I know you're strong in meditation. I'm not. I don't practice it enough. But when you have something that allows you to pull back and lift the head out of the crowd for just a second, man, that's a breath of fresh air. And I think if people could learn how to do that more, if I could learn how to do that more, the world would change very quickly. A lot of the stuff that we fight and scream and shout and kick and kill and do all sorts of mad stuff for would all of a sudden stop, and people be like, hold on a second here. Now humans are humans, and I'm not looking for utopia or anything like that, but like something small like that for me made a huge difference in how I look at things. And that can just snowball. It starts to affect everything you do in your life. You start to run it through this new filter of, hold on a second now. Do we need to get pissed off about? Do we need to lose my mind about? Do we need to cry about this? And it's not everything, but like what you were telling me, you have experience in meditation, and you can achieve. You said a glow. You achieve a glow.
Yeah.
What's the glow? Not a beauty product by Beyonce, I hope.
Well, yeah, I feel fabulous. I know. When I was younger, I used to smoke grass. Well, it doesn't agree with me, so I packed it in. Like, but when I meditate, so I've been meditating for maybe 5 years. Like, it's also like I have loads of different techniques as well. But I can feel it in my brain. Like, if I need to meditate standing at a bus stop, I'll just switch it.
Really?
Yeah. It's just something in the back of my
skill, man.
Yeah, it's sick. Like, it is good, especially because I smoke. I can just do it the whole time. I feel like cigarette like gives me my nicotine, but my mind feels refreshed as well. But yeah, it's like taking a hit from a bong. Then like if I meditate real good, like it's like whoa, like you're looking at the things you wouldn't notice. You're just finely tuned into what is going on right now, and this is after like like the sun's shining through these leaves in a perfect way with the shadows dancing on the footpath, and then there's a funny little shine off the tea. There's mad smoke coming off the tea, but that's leading into and just you're completely zoned into, and then you could be like a little bird flies over your head and like what. Oh my God, things fly around here, like
Yeah.
I know, like whatever was happening before. It's I always say it's like hitting F5 refresh the page, and it's like starts loading again and say, oh yeah, no, it's way down. And like so I wouldn't recommend it to anyone, but recently started doing mushrooms, and like I've only done them 2-3 times, and when people say I haven't told many people, but people say you tried mushrooms, you mad? I was like, no.
You're probably telling millions and millions of people now on this podcast.
Yeah. As long as me man,
not really.
She'd be cool, but they think straight away like psychedelic, like acid, gone away, but
they think drug degenerate kind of, you're taking drug party kind of that kind of stuff.
Party dosage, just
yeah.
On the party dosage, I'm on the philosophical dosage. Yeah, you can take all your different dosages and take different, but like I don't think I'd recommend this to anyone. For me personally,
yeah,
I'm very I love nature. Like that's it. Like there's no. I love dogs, which I suppose I consider nature, but the sky and everything's like, and I'd be quite spiritual as well. And the fact that, like, my godfather who's dead now, God rest him, he's an absolute legend, but he sensed it off me as well. Like, and we were used to talk when I became an adult. Like, he'd tell me about the shamanism and him looking at a light and being told he's not being true to himself. And he was a poet, like a very well-renowned poet around Ireland, and I just knew that mushrooms were these are my kind of, this is my way of connecting with him or connecting with other older, they've been doing them since 6,000 BC, 9,000 BC, and when you take them, like, yeah, there's some visual and visual effects, but you just feel completely connected to the planet, and you're like, oh, there's that rock there. That rock's been here for 6 billion years.
Yeah.
It's definitely more important to me. Or the sun's going around and you can sonder over other people and different, you can connect, and you're looking at flowers for their real beauty. And then for the few weeks after that, like I glow like I do off of meditation, like that, the sun's shining nice through a hall, and I'm like, wow, life is so fucking good. And the happiest time ever in my life ever, and this isn't up to 10, like that's a concert or something, but like the happiest and most content is after meditating, and mushrooms kind of gives me that boost of meditation where everything's so peaceful. There's no, like, the fucking house could be burning down and I could be meditating, I'm like, oh, it's nice and toasty in here, but it's a weird one. Like, it kind of does seem to rewire you, and it's a simple rewire. It's not like you've had to spend 10 years studying electrician or neurology, electrical neurologist, but it's like a simple rewire. It's like, you're looking that way, you should just turn around and look that way.
That's a great way of putting it.
It's not like anything abstract or complex, or anything. Just stop looking at those metrics of success that you are, and just look at the lovely dog.
Yeah. I promise you, I'm going to say this for a reason. I promise you, if people have managed to listen so far in this conversation, obviously interested in this stuff, but there's people sitting there who are really trying to understand what we're saying, and they're not connecting with it. And I think the part of the reason is the whole thing we're talking about. We're not recommending doing any sort of substances or doing anything at all. No. All of these things, as I said, talked about tools before, all of these things are tools to help us get back to a state and use a part of our brain that we've forgotten how to use. And I firmly believe that's the case for two reasons. from the experience I've had in the medical world doing these kind of treatments and working with these kind of people, I know that there is physical and physiological damage to the brain when you go through constant stress. And stress could be obviously a traumatic brain injury, you fall and bang your head or whatever, but it can also be depression, anxiety, low mood, alcohol, and just constant emotional stress is a huge one. Everyone goes through emotional stress, particularly nowadays, more than ever, with the amount of stress on us. That causes your brain to downregulate. Your brain cannot handle that amount of input, negative input, so it downregulates. So from a physiological point of view, number one, we are causing our brains to shut off from being able to feel that kind of real raw emotion, and that's where the connection with nature comes in, and appreciating what's around you and looking at the rock and the bird, because I felt all that stuff, and I felt that stuff at many times in my life when I've been feeling really good and all the stars align and I'm in a place where I'm like, whoa. And and like when people hear that, they go, Jesus, man, you're strung out. I said, no, I'm standing there and the wind is blowing through my scalp. The wind is blowing through my eyebrows, and the sun is rising and I feel really good. All the stars are lying, right? And I've done nothing, but you feel, whoa. And I'm sure people have felt that before with nature or with something. But from a medical point of view, just go back to the point I was making, with that constant stress we're under, your brain is suppressed. You're losing receptors, neurological connections that allow you to feel the dopamine and the feel good. You're losing that medically. So that's a fact. So from one point of view, like that's real. So if you don't want to buy into the meditation and the spirituality and connecting with what's around you, just understand that chronic stress, chronic bad emotions, it's like a brain injury. It is like a brain injury because your brain is changing medically. And the second thing is, if you're not practicing on a daily basis something that makes you feel good, it's a practice. Like if you're not doing something every day, I feel, that makes you feel good, you forget how to do that. You stop using the parts of your brain that can create and that can connect and that can love and that can feel gratitude. And again, please hang on in there. I've nearly made the point. If you're listening, you're kind of rolling your eyes saying, oh, I do try and it never works. We're losing the ability to use those parts of our brain. And when I had that ketamine experience and the odd time when I'm sitting there and I manage to have these thoughts that go through my head, I'm like, oh, wow. It's the same conclusion I come to. That lit up a part of my brain that I'm so unused to using. It was terrifying, but then it was like, whoa, can I access that more often? Like, can I live like that? And I think the answer is yes. I started I was doing bouldering. Two friends of mine brought me bouldering last year, which is indoor rock climbing. Like never done it before, and it was so new to me, and there was so much to learn. Another part of my brain lit up, and I came home buzzing because I was doing something new.
Stimulating.
But it was so stimulating. It's the same with this. Yeah. It's the same. I mentioned the cup of tea all the time. Every day I sit down, and it was a cup of tea or a cup of coffee, and I just sit and I hold it. And, oh, that's a lovely cup of tea, because it lights up that bit of my brain again, and it's just over and over again. I had a lady on who spoke about gratitude journaling, and I was telling her it doesn't work for me, and she's like, just do it for 30 days over and over and over and over and over again. Use that part of your brain and you will train yourself to be grateful, and you reopen those areas of your brain that's grateful. And like, you have to practice this stuff. So saying to yourself that the two boys are on here talking about LSD and ketamine, of course they feel good because they're drugged to their eyeballs. Absolutely not. I have very little experience with anything like that, but I have felt something so similar to the times where I had the divine stars lining up, that I know it's a part of my brain that I don't allow work. And now being able to have these conversations with guys like you and run podcasts and sit in a creative space like this and do video work and stuff like that, it's starting to light those bits of my brain up again that are like, it's just an outlet. It's just using the brain and retraining it to activate and act. And genuinely, I'm finding that I'm becoming more creative. I'm becoming a little bit happier in my day because I'm like, I get to create today, or I'm just using that bit of my brain over and over and over again. So long story long, to get to the point of that 5-minute rant there, this is something that you can train yourself to do. I'm not saying that if you're depressed, you should just be happy. I'm not saying if you're sad, just don't be sad. Yeah. I'm saying this is something you can actually train yourself to do, and you can find something that you do or you practice or that you implement that'll help you reignite or kickstart the engines in those bits of your brain again that we are actively killing. So this is not just we're lying there and we're not making it worse, we're not making it better. Everything we do, from our phones to our jobs to the stress we're under to the food we eat, is actively suppressing this stuff. Yeah. So if you find stuff to counteract that, it's going to have positive results, and you're going to get to Gonna get to a point where we're hearing more and more stories like yourself. Like, I do things because I love it. I want to give back. I want to help other people. I'm not in this for the money. I'm in it for the love of the art. The kind of stuff that becomes cliched sometimes when you don't really understand what's being said. But if you actually listen, you're like, hold on a sec, I'm looking at you, and you like, your eyes are lighting up when you're talking about the BiPolar Bear and the art and the graffiti and stuff. You're genuinely into this stuff.
Love it.
Yeah, you love it. And you said to me, you can tell when someone's not authentic. I can tell by looking at you that you're into this stuff. I'd love to see that in the mirror. When I look in the mirror, I'd love to see that in the people I love. I'd love them to be doing something every day that's like, I feel really good today. Like, that's because that's contagious. And when we ask, like, at the moment, there's so much stuff going on. We're all feeding off the negativity. We're all angry about this and upset about that and annoyed about that, and it's just we're passing that on, and then we have our own stuff in our lives we're upset about and we're passing that on. It's a really hard circle to get out of. But if you take that control for yourself and have those little things you work on, I mean, imagine how much happier we'd all be. It's an unreal.
Yeah,
that's my lecture over.
It's funny though, like with the depression, like, it's your own mind's against you.
Yeah.
So like I could know that this walk, we're all told a bit of exercise helps you. Everyone knows that. There's no question about it. When you're depressed, like, your brain's not going to let you do that. Your thoughts aren't going to let you do that. There's no ifs or buts or anything. Like, you can't fucking get up out of bed. You haven't washed yourself in 2 weeks. You know you need a shower.
Yeah.
Like, you can give yourself all these tools. Like, these are different tools, and everyone has their own little one. Like, it could be philosophy, it could be the one thing that does it for you. Like, some philosopher, and which has happened quite a lot, like, throughout time. But with depression and with other, like, there's mental health and then there's mental illness, and like, we're talking about mental health here, but then someone that's listening with mental illness won't get this. They will, like, they'll know, like, a lot of it, but they're like, what do I do? Like, if I'm in this situation, I can't stand up. I don't want to. I'm just going to eat, or I'm going to not eat. I'm going to exist barely. And like, you can send doctors to me. You can give me, like, and it's such a slow thing. And then you finally find that one little tool that we're talking about. It's just this one little thing that kind of, like, say, like, oh, this ain't so bad.
Yeah.
And it's mad, like, like, we talked about whatever, but, like, you literally have to try everything. Like, someone in a deep state of depression, or even like a crazy state of psychosis, well, like, once they come back around, or, you have to try everything and find there's going to be something, but like, you could be so worn out of trying everything.
Yeah.
And it could be just something like, it just could be you get a cat, and this kind of, you learn so much from a cat. But it's I don't understand the sciencey shit. I failed junior cert science, so I'm out. But, like, you're talking about the transmitters and how you can rewire the things and stuff. Like, I was saying, like, it could be just a sentence that changes someone's thing, and, like, it's a real dilemma for like, people that care about people that are suffering really, really bad with depression. Like, there's nothing you can say or do, and then they kind of have to find it themselves somehow.
Yeah.
And then, but when you do find it, then you kind of, I always just think of back when I couldn't leave my room for a few months, and, like, hey, anyone that loved me was trying to help me, and I tell them to fuck off, like, get the fuck, because I hate complete self-sabotage. Your brain wants to kill you. Like, it's your worst enemy that wants you dead is in there. Like, I just started finding through John of Gods now. Like, I wouldn't have found this without them. That's why I'm in debt to them. Like, I found that like, well, they helped me with identify some, like, I'm bipolar and ADHD and all, whatever you're having. They helped me work on some of them things, which does help quite a bit, and they gave me medication, which does help quite a bit. But they kind of highlighted for me that art was not about what it looked like in the end. So we had art therapy, and it was not about painting a picture, which couldn't get my head around. It was about the whole process of making something, and just being happy that you actually made something now. It doesn't have to look good. And that kind of, that was my first tool. And then there was a patient in there who was into Taoism. He's schizophrenic, and he was just one of the most enlightening people I've ever met. And he taught me the learnings of Lao Tzu, the way of Lao Tzu and Taoism, and that kind of got rid of. It's kind of like it's unlike Buddhism, where there has to be suffering. It kind of teaches you to be at one with nature, and there's many thoughts on it, but I took the kind of, it helped you get rid of the ego, and that kind of helped me then. And then there's just a collection of different things. So then, like, this is all the way up. I'm building this arsenal, and it's like, okay, I learned meditation. It's okay, that's really, really hard. Especially with ADHD, and it's like, well, you've nothing to lose, man. You've got like, and then sometimes, most of the time, I just fall asleep because I'd be so tired, and then I was starting to learn there's a nice way of falling asleep, and then there's ways of doing it, like the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 5 things for things you can see, 4 things for things you can hear, 3 deep breaths for things you can touch, 2 for things you can smell, 1 for things you can taste. And wham bam, you've meditated, and you're like, wow. Yeah. And then it's bully, and then you reset, and then talking to a person, like and they had ADHD, and said, oh well, did you know that if you most people with ADHD have a vitamin B12 and magnesium, did I say deficiency? Well, they've got a deficiency anyway. So I started taking that, and then I said, what the fuck? I can concentrate. Like, all these little things are just little instances in my life, but if you rewind back, like, I'd be dead. So there's the mental health, and then there's the mental illness thing, and now I'm like, I would prefer to be spreading mental illness awareness, but spreading mental health awareness, because I don't know enough about all these different states. So I just get people in to write blogs. That's the best way I can learn about it. And you can do like tutorials, or not tutorials. You can go through these different forms of mental illness through YouTube things.
Oh yeah.
Experience it, try their best. But yeah, the mental health thing now is perfect. Then is your 5 for me, or your coming down to 3 or 2, and if you can get everyone to be aware of how to keep themselves up there, then you never get down to 0 and 1. So like, I'd love to grab everyone that's down at 0 and 1 and just bring them up here, and let's say we can, we'll sort this out,
Yeah.
But it's just real rough down there. It's just so rough, and anyone that's going through it now, if they are listening, like, I know, like, for me, what worked was going to the psychiatric ward, but you have to try everything. You just got to keep trying, and even if you don't want to try, you just gotta. You've nothing else to lose. You might as well just keep trying other things. And then for the people at 3, 4, and 5, I think during the corona, the lockdown stuff, that people would have had enough times to reflect and start realising what tools that that will help them. They're building up their arsenal. Like, my arsenal's built now. I know I've got the tools I need. But I think in the last few months, a lot of people are more content, and they, there was a bit of drama when the lockdown first happened, but now people are like, oh no, I am a bit weird, but sometimes I do like to go, I don't know, everyone's different, but some people don't like to talk to people that much, and they're much happier not talking to people. And these are different. Just everyone's different. And
yeah, well, it was a forced hiatus, I think, from the matrix, I suppose, from the from the environment where you're forced to be around people in this competitive, ultra competitive work driven kind of performance environment, and it was the forced break. Like I said this months ago. People are always going on about how they would, because people are aware. People are not stupid. People are aware that they need a break from something, but they don't know what it is. It's not 2 weeks in Spain every 50 weeks, like, but that's what we get. And this forced hiatus was time, number one, to spend with family and by yourself, and to reflect and think. And it was forced because you couldn't spend your time. You could still go on Instagram and watch Netflix. Like, I think the Netflix went through the roof. But I know a lot of people took the time to consider what was going on in their lives and made some changes and made some changes for the positive and connected again with family and stuff like that. And that's what we're talking about. But it was forced. It's not going to happen. Like, what are the chances of us going, touch wood, we won't, but another pandemic in our lifetime? Like, so you just said there, you have to try, you have to take responsibility. Whether, like, what I like about the way you described the 5, it's a balance. It's in the middle. And if you're 6, you're too high, and if you're 4, you're too low. So you're trying to find that 5, and it's about maintaining that balance. So even if you're sitting at home thinking, do you know what, I'm not a 0, and I'm not a suicide risk, and I'm not that, this stuff is still relevant to you, because like, it's a spectrum and a scale, but it's all relative to your head. So if you're waking up every day and you're miserable because you don't want to go to work, or because you have to pay off the loan in the car, or because you're fighting with the partner, or whatever it might be, in a way, and I'm not trying to compare, but in a way, that's as bad to you as somebody who's a 0 is bad to them. It's your own head fighting against you on a different scale with different consequences, obviously. But
10 is what you see on Instagram.
You see, 10 is, and it's not even that it doesn't exist. It's just the wrong way of measuring it. It's a totally different scale. Like, it's why I really like what you said about the 5, because the 5 is about maintaining balance. It's not about getting to the top of the mountain. It's about making sure every day you're walking the line. You're putting one foot in front of the other. That's the 5. I'm going to steal that now. You're going to hear that now in a few podcasts. But
I wish there was a better way of quantifying it. Like, I just say 0, suicidal, 5. You know, there has to be a better way.
You're right, though, because I mean, even when you talk about bipolar, now I'm no expert on this, so forgive me if I'm butchering this, but like, you're manic some days with happiness, like, and people who know people who struggle with this can tell, like, oh, she's manic today, like, she's really high, and that's not good, because it's not good. It's stressful to be really, really high, and it's stressful to be really, really low. What you want is somewhere in the middle. And I spoke about a grey area before, where a lot of people are living in a grey area. You can have highs and lows, and that's normal. You shouldn't just be grey all the time, like, it's grand all the time. That's not what a 5 is. A 5 is maintaining the balance. Some days you're going to be a 4, and some you're going to be a 6. Some days you might be a 3, some days you might be a 7. But it's trying to always come back to that 5, and you might overshoot or undershoot sometimes. But that's human. That's normal. The key is not to be happy all the time every day, because then that's not really happiness, is it? It's contextual, like, it's relative.
You don't know different.
You don't know any difference. My granddad had a great saying. He was like, if every day was a holiday, then to play would be as tedious as to toil. So if you don't know hardship and difficulty, you don't know what happiness is. You've no context for it. And it's the same for this. And I know I keep saying your description is just so good, because it's about that balance. And whether you are waking up with just little irks every day, or you're waking up and you're in a dark place every day, it's about finding the balance. It's about trying to find the thing that helps you get to the place that you can maintain every day, and you can get through every day with joy in your day. And life will throw curveballs at you, but it's about training yourself to deal with the curveballs, as opposed to thinking, I need to go to the place where the curveballs don't exist, because that place doesn't exist.
But you're trying to think that does exist, and from what you see,
consumerism, they want you to buy more stuff because you're going to be happier if you own the latest this and the latest that.
Even just like other people, like, you know, regardless of Instagram or regardless of TV or whatever else you're sold, when you meet someone else, they're not going to give you the LD on what's happening. And they're going to sell you a 10, or a car salesman's going to sell you a 10. You know, and lead you to believe that. But the true art is someone's going to throw like something disastrous, like even beyond your comprehension, is going to happen, and then you're going to just keep walking the trapeze rope, like someone's going to swing it,
someone's going to wobble it, a gust of wind's going to come along, a rope bird,
or you can get cocky and start running on it, like, or doing your little cartwheels.
Jeez, you're better at describing the stuff than you think.
But the other one is like there's a few, like, there's polar thinking, and polar thinking is I can't have a foreground without having a background, or for me to get a shower, something has to get dirty, and you know, you can't have suffering, or you can't have joy if you don't have suffering. And the more you've been to 0, the more you'll appreciate it, like even a cup of tea, to be honest, you know. And then there's the other thing is, then if you don't expect a 10, like you're 5, you don't even think like this is the thing, and this is a definitely an African thing, and it's what's it? Your expectation. If you don't expect anything, you're going to be happy with nothing.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And if you are going to expect, like, just bring your expectations way down. Like, who gave you them in the first place? And you'll be grateful for. That's it. So sorry, I butchered that, but you'll be grateful if you expect nothing. So you'll be grateful for a dinner, and then then your 5 is your 10. You can bring your expectations down to nothing, and then you're controlling this scale, and you're like, like you expect a disaster to happen. Now it's no way to live, but you're expecting this, like, you've been told it's going to happen. So I'm kind of prepared for it, and then if anything good, like, if you do win €500 and you weren't expecting it, you're going to be so fucking grateful. So you can control what's your 10 as well. You can, like, and you can, you can still, like, I would be absolutely over the moon if, I don't know, like, I would be absolutely over the moon if I got this bike. But that, that's, I don't know, there's something there, that you're in complete control of. You're this. But like, people are going to throw stuff at you, try and make you fall off. But, like,
just be prepped for it. Look, I don't want to keep you all evening because I know you've a long cycle back. But just one, I like to give people tools they can use and actual takeaways from this stuff rather than just throw my opinion at people all the time. And you mentioned something I really, really clicked with, and you said art therapy first, which buzzed in my brain because I told you my girlfriend's an occupational therapist, and she introduced me to art therapy, and I think it's fantastic, and the way she talks about it and the way she's able to use it to really help people is amazing. And then you said arts therapy as well, and this was something maybe I only recognised because I was reading your website over the last couple of days, and you explained the difference between art and art therapy. Would you just briefly go into that, and I'll explain why it's relevant in a moment, the difference between art therapy and arts therapy, in your mind anyway?
Yeah, I'll just firstly big up any psychologists or OTs or counsellors or nurses.
Unbelievable.
Like, they are the most selfless people. Like, even the people who are out clapping for the nurses and all, man, we should be doing that all the time. Like, they devote their whole lives to other people. Like, for me, I just got this from looking at other people. But I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure this exists in places. But for me anyway, I just looked at people doing jigsaws, and the difference. I've done art therapy in John God's, and that was us using different materials on different platforms to, not make a picture, let your subconscious come through, and then a psychologist would interpret it. Whereas arts therapy, for me, and this is what I want it to be, and there's definitely another interpretation of it, is anything that you can have that you can express yourself through. So it doesn't have to be like, there's the obvious arts where there's dancing, literature, painting, whatever you're having, music. They're the obvious art forms, but then like there's a lot of other art forms, like and it could be the way you create a cake, or you're given this piece of Lego and this is what you create, or it could be unbelievable at tying knots or something. But these are all different ways of you expressing yourself, and you're putting your, like, just detach yourself from having to have a result from anything, or just putting your soul into this thing. And Jesus Christ, go dance bad, or like go dance horribly, like, but you'll see bits of your soul come out if you're being true to yourself. You'll see, okay, there's my insecurity in the way I'm dancing. That's an obvious one. But like then there's like, okay, I was I don't know, like, my friends left me in the middle of nowhere when I was 12 in a like dark field or something like that, and you can see, I used that little black brush over in the top left corner because I was left alone, and there's all this I just know, looking at people doing jigsaws and stuff, and or my mum knits, and she like choose these colours or choose these patterns. But why did you choose it? Because there's something there, like, why are you knitting? There's always these reasons why, and it can help you there's two things. Then you can have a art therapist psychoanalyze what you're doing, and then you can work on these things. Or fuck it, you can just do it for the sake of doing it. Like, you know,
Yeah.
and there's no like. I said something about playing with Lego this was a mental health talk or something, and the lady said to me, she goes, yeah, like an escapism. I said, no. I said, that's not, Lego's not an escapism, pal. Like the going to work is the escapism. Like, you know, the using your hands and building things and just creating anything, like the sense of satisfaction, that's what you're meant to be doing, and everything else is an escapism, because it makes you feel human when you can touch, it's tangible.
Yeah.
Like, it's there, you've done it, and it just can lift you up, and you know, you could think you're useless at something, and you might be, but like,
but that's not the point.
It's not for anyone else, it's for you to do. Like, so that's me. So I try to do positive things with graffiti. Like, I've done one that made it in a load of papers. It's just like, see you soon. Didn't put a name on it. I just wanted to evoke positivity in people, but it was actually genuinely talking to people as well. Whereas, I kind of got a little bit looser, and just I'm being true to myself when I'm doing it now. Where I used to do mad complex things, and now I want to do bubbly things that are helpful for other people. Will enjoy looking at it, and it might evoke emotion. But I know that it's true to me, and if it helps other people, great. But it's like I'd love an arts therapy centre.
Well,
that's,
you'll get there if you keep going the way you're going at the moment.
That's just looking at people using art subconsciously.
Yeah.
They don't know they're trying to say something with the way they're doing that jigsaw, or they're trying to, you know, they are saying something.
They're trying to access that part of their brain they know is there. When you said it to me, I thought it was just brilliant, because I'd heard of art therapy, and I think that's brilliant as well. And art therapy, like me doing this podcast, for me is art therapy. It's my way of getting, like, I would never have this. Well, maybe, I don't know. I would never describe myself as a creative person, but now I'm using cameras and microphones and doing podcasts and stuff like that, and I'm just doing it, and I feel really good just doing it. And it didn't start off me, so I want to have the best podcast in the world or anything like that. I knew I just wanted to do it, and there's other reasons why I wanted to talk to people and stuff like that too. And I think there's loads of people I talk to who say, well, I'm not arty, I'm not creative or anything like that. And so I don't think that. I know there's people who use different sides of their brain. There's more analytical people and there's more number, but everybody enjoys doing stuff.
Yeah.
And I think what has killed that to a certain degree is we have to do stuff for a reason. You have to create a YouTube channel to get the views and the money. You have to do this because it's good for your CV or your portfolio, or you have to do this because it's going to boost your follows and likes on Instagram, or whatever it might be. There's always a reason why you have to do that. I'm not saying there's anything necessarily wrong with those things, but it's, if you fall into that trap that you only do it for those reasons, it kills the creativity of it. Yeah. And I know from what you're saying there, I know there's times where, like, anybody who's doodled, anybody, so you just give the microphone a box there.
Sorry about that. Sorry to your eardrums, to your left and right.
Anybody who's doodled, or anybody who's hummed a song, even if you can't sing in the shower, or anybody who's done anything, who likes to cook or present the food on a plate nicely, or even who likes to dress a certain way, or anything, an expression of creativity. It doesn't have to have a goal or anything like that. And like, I struggle with that sometimes, because like, why am I, you have 24 hours in the day, you're going to spend this amount of time doing this because it's going to get you that, and it's going to get, like, you have to really focus your time down, and I've only got these amount but sometimes when you do something, and to be fair, my girlfriend Jill says this to me sometimes too. She's like, you just need to do that just to do it. Go for a spin on a motorbike, or play a game of pool, or whatever, just to do it, for no reason. Even though you have a million things you could be doing, just do that, and you'll feel better. And I'm like, and I'm stressing out about doing this thing, because like, well, I need to spend time doing this, and then do this, and then I do something, or I sit there and I doodle something, or I play a tune on the guitar, and I don't even know what it is. It's no tune. And then I feel really good afterwards, because I've just expressed that pent up kind of need for creativity or something. So, and the reason I asked you that, when we wrap up on this note, is if people are looking for somewhere to start to explore anything we spoke about this evening on the podcast, you don't have to go down the route of formal meditation or looking up ketamine or anything like that.
Get yourself in trouble.
Yeah, you could get yourself in a lot of trouble. Or questioning your mental health or asking big questions like, am I happy? Like, they're great. They're all great. But you could start by just, I love this. Just do something. Try something. And like, for the walks are big one. Like, go for a walk, whatever. Yeah. Like, draw something in the sand on the beach. Just have a notepad there, and whenever it takes you, just take the pen out and script. You never know, but you'll find this bit of your brain just starts to niggle at you, and you know what's that, and you go at it again, and it grows and grows, and all of a sudden you have something beautiful there, and you're not doing it to create something beautiful, but it's funny how cliche, when you stop thinking about something, is usually when something good happens. Like when you stop really trying it. I'm not saying don't try harder things, but when you stop obsessing about having an end goal to something specific. Now, this goes totally against everything you probably learned in college or business or life or whatever like that. Have a goal in mind, etc. 5 years and your 10 years. But for this specific thing that we're talking about here, take a picture. Go take pictures. Everyone has a phone, a camera on their phone nowadays. Take pictures of the things that. Don't just take a picture for Instagram with the lips pursed and the arse out and the sunset in the background or whatever. Take a picture of something you think looks cool, like the leaf falling off the tree or whatever. And take it for you, and don't take it for Instagram or anybody else. And just do that a few times and see how you feel. That's a great place for anybody to start if they're curious about what we've been talking about, or they struggle to connect with anything we've spoken about, or nothing resonates with them. Try something like that. Like, you'd be amazed. Well, I'm speaking from experience, and I know you are as well. You'd be amazed what happens when you stop. The result isn't the goal. The process is just what you enjoy doing.
Yeah. And it could be like, it can be just, it doesn't actually even have to be a thing. Like, it could be like we're going back to helping other people. Yeah, that could be that is a lot of people's callings.
Yeah.
You know, if you care, it's why you got into this state of caring too much. And go care for someone else, and then you will feel. So this could be anything, but it could be you see faces in things, or just as long as you just. I find just if you stagnate, if you become like water, like not in the Bruce Lee way, but I mean, if you're not moving, you're going to become stagnant.
Yeah.
And that can be physical as well.
Yeah, 100%.
So just get up and move and just go. It could be go out the back garden and look at some daisies or something. Just start moving, and then more things will start moving.
Yeah.
And distract yourself from, or detach yourself from a process or from the end goal, because like. That'll be your end goal, but what will be your end goal in the end?
Yeah.
We're all ending up dead.
We're all going the same place.
That's your whole life is a process. You don't get to control the goal. You don't really. Most people are afraid of dying. Like, you just might as well just, your whole life is a process, just to treat it like that.
Brilliant.
It's I love just like welling up thinking of like people just out doing their thing as themselves and not doing it for anyone else. And you just think of people dancing, or singing or whistling or just doing things. You see it in paintings, and you just see people doing their thing, and it's the most beautiful thing you can look at. Yeah.
100%. Lovely. Listen, man, we could go on another. That's an hour and a half now. We could go on another 5 hours. And I hope you'll come back, because we briefly touched over BiPolar Bear Wear and all that kind of stuff. There's loads more we could talk about. But look, I've really enjoyed that conversation.
Yeah, it was deadly, man. Thank you.
It was brilliant. Thanks for coming out and having a chat with me. If anybody wants to get in touch with you for any reason, if they want to have a look at your clothing, if they want to have a chat with you and like that, where can people reach you or get in touch?
Put my phone number. And I was just
won't give your phone number over the podcast.
BPBwear.com or contact or conco@bpbwear.com. Just email. You'll see loads of email addresses, so we get people in emailing when they're having what I call head wobbles, or the wibbly wobbly wonders.
The wibbly wobbly. Yeah, is that where the wibbly wobbly wonder t-shirt came from?
Yeah.
I was wondering,
because it's like your fucking head's wobbling all over the shop, but
that's deadly.
Just makes it more accessible.
The
t-shirts and stuff. But no matter what's going on with you, even if you just want to shoot the breeze, I love opening up a discussion there.
Brilliant.
Even if it's something you want to give out to me about something, I love hearing it. So just having a little discussion.
Well, look, man, you've made a big difference in my life already. I really appreciate you coming on, and thanks very much for doing this.
Oh, Valor, thank you so much for having me.
Pleasure. Pleasure. We'll chat to you soon. I know I said it at the start, guys, and I know I might have rambled on in this one, but I really enjoyed that chat, and my brain is absolutely buzzing after it. Guys, I know it comes up a lot, but how we're feeling affects everything we do, everyone we interact with, and basically controls our whole lives. It's okay to do things that make you feel good. It's okay to follow your own path, even if it's different from other people. And it's definitely okay to talk about this stuff, whether you're just having a bad day, or a bad year, or a bad decade. If you think you might want to have a chat or get in touch with Stephen or myself, or if you have any questions, you can head over to www.prymal.ie/BiPolarBear for all the links, show notes, and the contact details. And guys, if you enjoyed the show and you want to hear more, give us a follow at Prymal Pro, PRYMALPRO, on Instagram and Facebook, and you can subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever it is that you get your podcasts. And most importantly, if you think this show might help someone else, please send it on. Thanks, guys. Peace.